Hello, guys. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the Financial Deviant channel. It's been a few days since I've had something for you guys, but I wanted to jump on because one of the things that I run into is people who have this idea or they know that they should be doing more with the money to get their money working for them. Um, Outside of a standard brick and mortar bank savings account that doesn't even pay you 1%. They have this idea that they should be doing more, but they're not quite sure what to do. And I actually had this happen just last week. I was at a session with a large group of folks, and afterwards, this lady came up to me, and very nice lady, and just talking to me about this very thing that she knows she needs to do something, and she's heard people talk about it, but she doesn't know exactly what she should be doing to get started. So that's what prompted this particular video because I know that that is not unusual to have people um, in that situation who just they 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 know they should be doing something, not quite sure how to get started. So I just thought I'd jump on and give you an idea of kind of where I started and how I got moving and got some real momentum. And in order to do so, I'm going to share a screen with you. This is something from the Bogleheads wiki. And the Bogleheads is just, it's a strange name, but it's named after Jack Bogle, who was the founder of Vanguard, who was the creator basically of the index fund. He created an S&P 500 index fund many years ago. And um, so the Bogleheads are people who subscribe to his particular method of simple investing, not too complicated, and how the returns very often will far exceed those portfolios that have much more complicated and much more complicated type investments. It's kind of like set it, forget it, decide your asset allocation, and then just live your life. Continue to consistently uh, put money in your account and just live your life and just watch it grow. That's kind of, in a simple way, what the philosophy is. But you see the heading here says three fund portfolio. This is not investment advice, but this is just something. This is what I do. I mean, I'm going to be very honest with you. Um, I do a version of this for instance, in my 401k account at work. So this three fund portfolio is just a way to have an extremely diversified portfolio with just three funds. And I don't want to overcomplicate things because you can actually do the same thing in one or two funds. But maybe that's for another day. So, um, but it just says it's talking about how you establish a three fund portfolio, and again, it's just three funds that can give you an extremely simple and well diversified portfolio. Let's see if I can get this thing working here. Is it gonna work for me? Is it gonna work for me? Let's see. Okay, so you here. Let's slide down here a little bit, and I'll cut through some of this stuff. But here it is, and let me just say this: this is a Bogleheads tend to like Vanguard funds. That's what they do. But it's not necessary to only use Vanguard funds. But in fact, I'm going to show you that you can put together the same portfolio from different brokers besides Vanguard. So here are the core funds. To me, this is what would make up a core investment portfolio. The first one, the Vanguard Total Stock Market Index Fund. It consists of just about every publicly traded company in the US equities market, small cap, mid cap, large cap, value, growth, just about the whole market. And if you heard me before talk about, I just want to buy the market, this is what I mean. It's a low cost index fund. It's almost free as far as the expense ratios. And it allows you to, I think it's some close to 4,000 companies that you own with that fund. So that's the first one. And then the second one is a total international stock index fund. And you see the ticker here for Vanguard. Um, that allows you to own international equities. And then the third component of the three fund portfolio is the total bond market fund. VBTLX is the one that Vogel hedge tend to like to use. I will look here. I will show you here that these are mutual funds. We know that because these tickers are 5 letters: VTSAX and VTIAX, VBTLX. We know those are mutual funds because they have 5 letters in the ticker. You can also use ETFs, which honestly, candidly, is what I use. I use ETFs. And you see right here, it says, of course, you could use ETFs rather than mutual funds, for example. And this is the ETF version of these funds. VTI, that's your total stock market ETF. VXUS, that's your total international index fund. And then BND, that's your total bond market ETF. So those are literally the funds that I use in my own portfolio. Again, I want to stress this is not financial advice. I just want to show you how simple it can be to create a portfolio that can live on for years and years and years. And you just go on and live your life. All right. So, and you can, if I can blow this up a little bit, you can make these allocations whatever you want them to be. You see right here, I think it's 64% is in the total stock market, 16% in international, and 20% in bond, a total bond market fund. So essentially that will be an 80-20 portfolio, because if you add the US equities plus the international equities, it's 80% of this portfolio and then 20% in the bonds, which is your obviously your fixed income portion of your portfolio. And you see they have different ones you can use. You can use you can create a 60-40. That means 48% in the US equities, 12 in the international, and 40 in your fixed income or your bond fund, and so forth and so on. You can do whatever you want. But I want to show this, and I said that, Bogleheads tend to prefer Vanguard funds. They go back because of Jack Bogle and being the creator of the mutual fund, of the index fund. If you have accounts with Charles Schwab, here it is. Here's your fund. Here's your tickers. You can build the same portfolio with these tickers. If you are with Fidelity, right here, you can use these funds to create that 3-fund portfolio. If you government thrift savings plan, you can use your C fund, your I fund, and your F fund, or your G fund to create this 3-fund portfolio. I have a lot of friends and family who have access to that thrift savings fund, working for the government. So you see, whoever you use, and let me just drop a little hint right here also. Fidelity is who I use now as my broker, but at Fidelity, I hold Vanguard funds, and they don't charge me extra for it. But here's the key to that. I don't own Vanguard mutual funds. I own Vanguard ETFs in my account at Fidelity. So that's also an option for people who have already set something up at Fidelity and will like to use Vanguard funds. You can do that too, and it doesn't cost you any extra. Here's more. Here's BlackRock. Here's Charles Schwab. Here are the funds you could use if you wanted to build that 3-fund portfolio with Charles Schwab. State Street. Here are the funds you could use if you have an account with State Street. And of course, here's Vanguard. Here are the ETFs that you could use to build that 3-fund portfolio. And that's it. it. You really, I kid you not, you really don't need anything else in a portfolio. You really don't need anything else um, if you really want to build a well diversified um, portfolio that can do anything you need to do with it. So the other thing is, I wanted to see if I could show you if I can get this to work correctly. I wanted to see if I can show you uh, what you would be buying. I want to see if I can show you what you'd be getting if you decided you wanted to uh, use a build a 3 fund portfolio. Let's see. Let's go see if I can go to Morningstar. And is this it? Morningstar. You know what? This thing is not going to work for me. But what I wanted to kind of show you is that just with those 3 funds, you could have as many as close to 4,000 US companies that you would own. And I'm trying to think, maybe about 3,000 in the international index fund. And then for the bond fund, it's like crazy numbers. I can't remember what it is. It could be it could be as many as like 10,000 fund companies or bonds that you own just by owning that one fund. So a lot of times when people talk about diversification, they think you have to have a lot of funds. That is absolutely not the case at all. You can have those 3 funds, and you own everything you need to own to build some momentum financially in your portfolio. I do want to mention this other thing though, and that is if you don't have a total stock market fund, if you don't have access to a total stock market fund, U.S. equities, you can use an S&P 500 fund as well. Okay. Um, as a matter of fact, at work, I don't have a total stock market fund available to me in my 401k. So I use an S&P 500 fund, index fund, and it's perfectly fine. As a matter of fact, historically, the performance is almost inseparable. When I can use the total stock market fund, when I can get access to that fund, I like it because it gives you you own a whole lot more companies, and it's a lot more diversification. Um, the S&P 500 is basically a large cap, larger companies, and again, the performance of the S&P 500 and the total stock market fund are very similar historically. So it's no sweat. Again, I use that at work, but when you can have access to it, it just allows you to have a little bit more diversification where you can own that total stock market fund. And you know how you can tell when something is an index fund? You look at the expense ratio, and generally the expense ratio is going to be something like 0.03%, 0.04%. That's virtually free. And it's free because you don't have a bunch of helpers, is what Bogle called them. You don't have a bunch of helpers that you have to pay. You just get the returns that the market gives you. So it's, again, index funds are virtually free. And I've said it many times before, historically, 90% of the time they outperform actively traded funds because it's very difficult for anybody, regardless of how sharp they are, to outperform the market. And a lot of times they can't outperform the market. Those actively traded funds can't outperform the index funds because of the fees that you have to charge people, and because you actively work those funds and the fees that go along with making trades and all that stuff costs money. And very often that's the primary reason that index funds outperform actively traded funds in a nutshell. So I hope this has been helpful. This is I know I went through it a little kind of quick, but I just continue to talk to people who are not quite sure of how to get started. And if you're a young person in your 20s or so, I'm not. sure you shouldn't be just 100% equities and don't even worry about bonds, because bonds are for stability. Bonds are for people like me as they get close to the retirement and they want to make sure they hold on to the money that they've acquired over time. But young people, I see all the time, there are young people who have 100% equities because they have time on their hands to allow the market to do. It's going to be ebbs and flows, but over time, historically, the market has gone up, 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 up. There'll be some blips, there'll be some dips, but historically, it has gone up, up, up over time. And that's what we expect. That's what we look forward to. And we want to get the benefit from that by owning all of these companies and letting them pay us for owning them. That's what ownership is all about, right? So, hope you've enjoyed this, guys. Hey, if you like this video, please like it and share it and subscribe. Hopefully, got some really exciting stuff coming up in the near future. So you're going to want to know when we're going live or when we're putting up new content. So, you guys have a great evening. I'll talk to you soon.